My name is Piyush Mathur. I lead Nielsen in the India region, which is four countries, India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Nepal. We are over 3,500 employees. We are a company that work in the marketing information and analytics business globally. We are listed in New York Stock Exchange and also are the largest in the world in our space. Very simply put, we basically measure what consumers buy and what consumers watch. That's it. We don't do too much beyond that. We try and connect the dots between buy and watch, but basically that's how I explain it to my 9-year-old daughter. That's what we do. Today I just wanted to touch upon, I think Ajay already mentioned a bit about improvisation. So it's a unique concept called Indovation. And I will talk a little bit about that. Also, I'll share some learnings from about 300 innovations in the last 3 years that we've analyzed. So some key learnings that have come out from that analysis I'll share with the group today. So let me start with innovation. So I don't know how many of you have heard this word called innovation. Can I have a raise of hands? Yeah, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so surprisingly, it's not an Indian guy or somebody based out of India who's come up with this concept. It's a professor from Cambridge. His name is Navi Raju. He formed this word called Indovation. And it's essentially about innovation in India, for India, but it's now actually for the world, not just for India. He's now trying to get this word into the Cambridge, folks, and also in the Oxford Dictionary. So there's a site, you can go and check it out. He was also in India recently. I'm pretty, impressed with the concept actually being developed from outside of India for India. And now, some of the things that come out from innovation actually are even being applied in the developed world. So let me give you one small story that I heard from the creator or the innovator of this product. I'm sure you've heard about the ATM for rural India, right? So in rural India, people are illiterate and they can actually not operate an ATM. So they've designed an ATM that works on biometrics, on fingerprints. You can actually use the ATM machine through your fingerprints, no passwords. And then they said, in rural India you also don't have electricity, so how does it work? So they've also come out with solar energy, so the ATM actually works on solar energy. Then of course it's about cost. It is not affordable, the transactions are small, so how do you use that? So they actually came out with this machine which is 1/10 of a cost of a normal ATM machine. Now they went out, and this is done with Professor Jhunjhunwala from IIT Chennai, and we are partnering with IIT Chennai on innovation. So I've heard the story from Dr. Jhunjhunwala. So they started piloting this in a village in Tamil Nadu. And they found that despite all the design and innovation and all the relevance, the villagers were actually not using this machine. So they went out and did research to find out why is it that they're not using this machine. Everything is like tailor-made for them. And then they found that villagers had this, value, or in their mind they used to believe that crisp notes are fake, right? So they believe as notes travel several hands and become soiled, they are the original notes. And an ATM machine was actually dispensing crisp notes. So they went back to the drawing board. And now they have an ATM machine that actually dispenses soiled notes. So I think it's a great example of how you have to look at the consumer and their needs and their values and build your innovation around that. Now this machine is actually being exported. It's going to Africa. Pakistan's asked for many of them. And I think it has global relevance. Wherever you have illiterate people, this can actually work. So this, to me, is an example of commercial innovation. let's do a quick one on disruptive innovation. So I know, let me start with this. So how many of you have a Sony Walkman? 5, 6, we need to have a chat. Okay, so how many of you have iPods? All right, we don't need to have a chat. This is, if you go back 20 years ago, Sony, there was an executive of Sony and he used to fly regularly, and he found it cumbersome to take a lot of cassettes with him. So he actually went to his R&D and told them that I need something that you can help me carry my music on the flight. And they actually developed something similar to the iPod for him, right? He used to carry music with him, like an iPod. This was 20, 25 years ago. When he was on the flight, people used to ask him, so what is this? How do you carry music like that? And he said, these guys made it for me, it was worthwhile, and I carried it. It was even discussed in Sony that why don't we make this commercial, right? And they came back, the board came back and said, we've got such a lovely, profitable business running. We can't disrupt that. I mean, it'll kill the music industry. And they didn't go out and take that innovation forward. And today we see, the manufacturing of Walkman has probably stopped. So I think the learning that we take away from this, all of us in this room, is how do we disrupt our business models? Because they will get disrupted. I'll tell you my example. So we do a lot of stuff in the retail space. I've hired 6 people from IIMs and the Premier Institute in India this year. I gave them a project to disrupt my business model. Before they get adulterated in our system, we give them a project to really pick their creativity, and they're going out, figuring out how we can disrupt. These are 6 punch. I told them, you're the entrepreneurs, you're out there to kill Nielsen. So go figure out a business model that will kill our business model. And I think that's the culture you need to build in your organization, because somebody will break your business model. And it's happening in the social media space. We're seeing a new company comes in, which actually completely takes away the business from a recent or recently new company, which had a new business model when they came in. And having said that, social media is still in its puberty. We haven't seen the width of its power yet. So I think that there's so much to learn from what is happening around us in the innovation space. Just quickly, the 3 learnings that I would highlight from the analysis that we've done. This is very specific to India, and I thought it'd be relevant for you. This is largely in the FMCG space. So when we looked at innovation, we found that there is a long cycle of innovation in India. So you've got to be really pursuing your new product for a longer period of time versus in rest of the world. And the reason for that is because media is fragmented in India, and retail is not yet consolidated. So just to make your product reach the consumer, or for your product to be known by the consumer, it takes a long while. So you've got to support your innovation for a longer period of time than you would do in some of the developed world. So we've seen, some of the distribution levels that you can reach in UK, you would take, in a year's time, you would take about 5 years to do that in India. So I think when you're thinking of innovation in India, the learning is you've got to have a long-term plan, because it's not going to be instant returns. The second one that I would highlight that we are getting from the analysis that we have done is competition is good. Competition is good. So we've seen when new categories are formed, new innovations are created, and they've actually created categories for themselves. Just the fact that they're alone in that category actually works against them. So example, when Maggi came in and launched noodles many years ago, it was difficult for the Indian mindset to accept that product. It took a long while for them to do that. But if you look at the last 2-3 years, there have been so many players that have come in, and suddenly we see a huge growth rate because the share of voice of the category has gone up. So competition actually helps your cause. So that's one way to look at it. The inflection point for your category actually comes faster than it would if you were the sole player. So I think those are some of the learnings that I wanted to highlight. Maybe there was this last one, which is really about, you are as strong as your weakest link. This used to be old adage that we used to know, and then we started saying we just have to focus on our strengths. I think this analysis is telling us that you should focus on your strengths, but you have to have a minimum base level of hygiene that you have to achieve on various parameters when you do a new launch. So with